Hello, these are my thoughts on the Lotus changes. This is what Lotus currently looks like on a site, and this is what it will be changed to. So they've added these corners and took away the inner bit over here, and I think generally this just helps the defenders to have a bit more time they can tuck into these positions. And the opposite corners I think have favourable fights here. I'm not exactly sure on that, but I think they're at least more favourable than they once were. I think these close angles don't have favourable fights on someone swinging them though. But generally, it's going to help the defenders on backside allow for more time for the rotators to either get to this position or get to below the ramp and through over here somewhere, right? To fight backside or fight this sort of corridor. That's generally what these changes are for, just to help the defenders on site delay. Play off these corners, especially ones like Killjoy can probably place a turret over here somewhere. Probably not the best of uses, to be honest. And then it can fire either side, and then she can use that to peek off the corners. There's probably, I haven't got the actual site on hand, so I can't test things out and things. But there probably is a better way to do that kind of play, with that change. So now we go on to Slant, which has been pushed back and made into a corner. So this change is pretty big because it actually helps to control A main for defenders, and it also helps to control this B rotation, which is one of the most important parts of the map, is to open this B rotation and to kind of threaten using it on Lotus. The rotations in general with the doors as well are also things like opening the doors and closing the door, especially one in between C and B, threatening that way you can kind of rotate from B to C and just make it very, very hard to track what you're doing. Having control of this rotation and that rotation is really, really important, Lotus. So the defenders kind of have a device to kind of hold that a bit better. So they can sit behind this box. You can have a chamber with a TP in here that can TP back to it if he needs it. I'm just kind of play contact here or something like that. It also means people on rubble. So when people dash to rubble, a raise or a jet. They can't see Slant instantly, and they can't clear this area instantly. Before they could just clear this instantly, right? Now they can't do that. They can't see in this corner, and they can't see behind this box. So now it means that we might need to be committing a dog to actually see this area, which is just helping to add to the amount of util that is required to take A main, which can definitely help alleviate the pressure on retakes and the actual taking of sites when they have to use more util to kind of take areas. As time goes on, it probably gets a bit more refined about how much util gets taken or gets used to take these areas. I imagine that eventually we might see a raised nade lander in here somewhere. Depends if it's realistic to throw it from rubble. If not, then why not see it? I also would have looked to see what angle this creates, because it might actually create some sort of 50-50. Well, not exactly 50-50. It might just create a really, really awkward fight, is what I mean, for players fighting this box player. But I'm not exactly sure. I mean, definitely creates a nice contact angle, so when a player is here, this is now impenetrable. So you can have someone swing behind it, swing from behind it and play contact off this player. So there's options now for defense in A main that isn't just take this area over here. They actually have options to kind of play a bit more in the middle of it, and force the enemy to kind of use util to kind of get through. Because it was quite difficult. You would need the actual right util to take this sort of area, right? But now you don't really need the right util. Think about it from a solo queue perspective, is that this area is just a bit more favorable for defenders now. So it's maybe a bit easier for you to defend this in solo queue, basically. Next we go on to the B changes. I do think the A changes are pretty decent overall, but I'm not exactly sure. I think the C changes are the highlight of these changes. So we'll go into that very soon. So let's look at B. This is what B currently looks like. This is what it is now, what it will be when it changes. So the biggest thing is, well, first of all, you just push this wall back. And the biggest thing about this, in my opinion, is that when someone is standing here and the door's open, they have a deeper angle into rubble. That's probably the biggest thing. And I don't think many people realize that this is actually might be quite a difficult place to hack now over on A. Is because this deep angle might be just too hard to deal with, unless you somehow unless you decide to commit a smoke here, which is going to be probably horrible to do. So we'll have to see. Harbor might get played a lot more because of that potentially. That he can wall this off along with with the stairs, right? So he can do both. He might get played because of that, but I don't know 100%. Yeah, that's just like kind of like a half prediction that I've got. Another thing as well to note is that this is a 50-50. I'm not sure if you can see the player in this corner. If you can't see the player in this corner, then this is an actual 50-50, which makes taking this area really hard because the first player through is going to have to take a 50-50 on which side they're going to have to clear. Obviously with util, it's not quite that, but it can be really difficult, especially on retakes. So this is like a double-edged sword kind of thing where the attackers have to go through this 50-50, and I actually think overall it's harder for the defenders to come into this area to retake, because I think it's more likely that retakers or enemies that will, or like attackers that will defend the retake, will sit in these 50-50 angles compared to defenders just defending the map, right? So I think when it comes to like retaking B, the A players kind of like to go through this door, but I think it's going to be a lot harder to do that now, without util being committed to clear out this 50-50. I also think, just a quick side note, that Raze has overall got a bit worse, I think, on this map, just because it's got bigger. And I think that Chamber sometimes gets favoured in these types of changes because he gets like extra places to put his TP, and that can give him like extra area to like sit with his TP. So if we quickly go back to the A Slant change, you can see like what I mean is that he can place his TP in this corner, which he was never able to do, and maybe he can probably sit over here somewhere on the rubble and have this deep angle. Like that's what I kind of mean when I say that stuff. And yeah, just bear that in mind. It wasn't actually relevant to this kind of thing, but it was relevant to like, hey, when Raze kind of gets nerfed by these sort of map changes, Chamber can also get buffed as well. And there's obviously plenty of agents that are the same, right? Where like maybe if a corridor gets widened, Breach gets nerfed, or if a corridor gets made smaller, then Breach gets buffed. Like that kind of stuff is really important to note with these sort of changes. Next, we have this change on B, and the wall's kind of just being pushed back here. So once again, 50-50 angle has been created here, where you have to use util to make sure that this isn't 50-50 for you going on to site. Once again, I don't think this matters as much for the retakers, as I don't think many players retake through main, through the door and through like flank. I don't think that really happens that much, but obviously it can affect them if that does happen, and they have to be in a 50-50 here. I think the main highlight of this change is that this high-low angle exists now. Before, it didn't really exist. The reason why it didn't exist is because it would be horrible to be this player, because you would always get shot first from anyone coming out of C, because it's just a horrible angle. You'll be too close to the corner, and they'll see you miles before you see them. But this time, but with this like change, it's not the case anymore. You see them fairly similarly, fairly similar time, and this high-low actually I think has become a lot more viable now to use. So honestly, if you want to use that, I think it's probably one of the better things in this site. I think overall this site is becoming a lot less viable to retake with this available, and then obviously this change here stops the A players from just taking this area for free. So I think B is actually going to be easier to retake overall. Sorry, not to retake. It's going to be easier for the attackers to defend the retake, to actually get the bomb to explode. That is kind of what I'm seeing with these changes. I think this might be a bit of a bait as well for defenders to sit in this corner. I don't think this is really that good of a corner. I think the only time like this is ever really good is if you have a judge and for some reason they decide to come here on non-eco. Like they have like maybe success on and things, and they decide to have a lot more. They tend to like go fast into the site, and they have like full guns, and you can like sit here with a judge and that kind of stuff. I think that's like the only time it's really viable. I think overall like this not a really massive change in this corner. The 50-50 is, once again, as I said, is quite nice, but it's not massive. Next we go into C. So this is what C site currently looks like, and honestly it looks horrendous. Yeah, just horrendous looking site, but they made it a lot nicer to look at. So this box is quite important. Just in general, honestly, the C site has just changed so drastically that I think there's a lot of important things to go over. So the first thing that I'm going to go over is actually something old. So this is, once again, probably still the best plant spot, but I think it's nice to note that there is a plant spot viable over here somewhere, probably, that is going to be really easy to plant at. And if you want to actually take C site, this plant is actually quite good, because you don't really need it to be open when you've actually like got control of the whole of C site and the back site. And I also do think that there's a potential wallbang here through this like little wall here on top of the mound. So you're on top of the mound and you wallbang through like this little like wall here, like this little railing. And I'm pretty sure that you're about to wallbang people in this corner. So I'm not sure where they're actually playing it, but I'm pretty sure that's viable, because I think you can do something similar to it right now. with people on the stairs here. So I'm guessing that's going to be viable plant position over in this corner. Also, any lineups there will be really, really useful as well for defenders and attackers. Either one, just to like deny plants in this area, would be quite useful. So I'll go over like the boxes now. The boxes over here are probably really, really important for defenders because, as you'll see in the next like 2 slides, that they've sort of pushed back this wall over here. And the important thing with that is that this angle will get a lot more value because they'll see a lot more of like over this railing, and you'll be able to defend quite a decent amount here of them coming out onto the choke point from this box. So I think this box is actually quite useful, and anyone can get up there as well. So it's not like it's only the Jet can do it or only the Rays can do it, whatever. Anyone can do this angle. So I think it's actually quite viable and quite good to use that angle. This is the box here, which I'm blocking a bit with my camera, I think. But basically, I think it's jumpable, so you can jump onto it from this rail. So I can imagine a chamber sitting on top of there, a Jet sitting on top of there. Anyone kind of sitting on top of there that can kind of get away. Maybe even a Raise Orp or something like that can sit on top of here. Rainer as well can sit on top of here. I think generally this is actually quite a decent position, especially as Lotus will be new, or like this version of Lotus will be new, this angle will be new. So at least at the very start, it's probably going to be a bit more viable. I think as people get used to this angle, it might not be as viable, but generally I think this is quite viable for now. One other thing as well I want to say from this screenshot is that when you're retaking this site, you no longer have to check like this angle if you have someone from Waterfall. I can check this. So it's got a lot easier to kind of get into this first portion, I think, of this area. Obviously this box still exists, but no one can sit behind it like this. It's completely open, right? So anything that can like detect this sort of front area will clear it, straight up clear it, right? So things like Dizzy has got a buff here, and obviously like Recon and that kind of stuff has been buffed here. Sky Flash as well. If you can kind of maybe get behind the pillar, you like clear this front part. Yeah, I think generally it's going to be easier to retake this first part, but it might be a bit harder to like retake this back portion of the site. But I also will go on to like this area might be under attack from a different position, like this sort of like area of CT that I want to talk about in the next slide. So this is what it currently looks like, and this is what it will look like. So overall, I think the anatomy of like this site now kind of resembles Split on B a tiny bit, where the choke point is here, there's a box here, there's like a pillar here, and there's like a lane you can go through here. It's very similar to Split, right? But it doesn't actually play that much like Split, despite that. But I'll go over like all the things. So that the choke point hasn't got any wider or smaller or whatever, but it is able now to, I think it's viable now to like go on this line and check this corner, as people might be sitting in this sort of area, and this area, I think you can check this corner and this corner. You can't check this. So it can be a bit problematic with like shotguns and things, although it is quite deep, so it might not actually be a problem for a player peeking over here. You just have to be careful of behind you on the lane. I also think as well, like jump spotting here, similar to Split, might be a bit more viable, but obviously this is wall bangable, so maybe not. You'll probably see people on top of the box more than likely at the start. This sort of area is being like cleaned up slightly. There's less angles to check, but obviously at the risk of a 50-50 over here, with this 50-50 angle here, with this corridor. So I'm guessing that this corridor might be smoked off a lot, maybe by Harbor or something like that, or might not actually care about this corner because we might just like recon it or something with a recon agent like Skydog or something. So this probably isn't actually a true 50-50. But I really want to talk about the retake on this one, because I think the retake is interesting on this, because this area overall, the back side, is a bit more viable to hold now with this double box. I also think as well, like just overall, planting here and on like an eco or something is a lot easier, and you can just like plant here and then just hold the back site and try and contest through the lane, and then you have like maybe potential wallbang from Mound onto the player over here through like the railing. So I think there is like viability to planting over here somewhere, but I just don't know how it will pan out. If it would be, because I think it's too easy to retake C, at least at the start portion over here. And the one last thing I want to go over is that this box creates a nice angle for the attackers on the retake, as they can see the CT players come out of CT, And obviously, I'm not exactly sure what the angle is going to look like. If they can see way too deep into CT, it's not going to be viable because the CT player will take the fight way before they're retaking, unless obviously it's smoked. But if they can like cut themselves off on an off angle where they'll get them if they like, if I go back, if they actually get the angle, where they can like not see any of this choke point, so they can like tuck themselves behind this corner and they only see like them walking out here, that angle is going to be completely horrible to play against because they're going to be able to have this angle on people coming out of main while they're getting like fought from like probably this angle or like waterfall or like this sort of like these close angles. I don't know, actually maybe it's not look too bad actually thinking about it, but it's just like an added angle that could be like really difficult to deal with as a retaker. So yeah, that's it for the video. I'm honestly a bit rusty at making videos because I haven't done it for over 2 weeks now, as I like did all my videos in advance for Christmas, so I actually had like 2 weeks off. Yeah, I'm a bit rusty, so I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one.